All right, we're crossing the Potomac into the nation's capital. There's the obelisk, of course, the Washington Memorial. We'll be going to Congress today. We'll be going over to the Washington, D.C. District Courthouse. Just left Alexandria, Virginia. I was over at the CPAC office and getting things dialed in right there. So if you weren't, there wasn't very good signal that day at the Cannon Building, but what it was the CPAC Global Narco Summit, and I hear a lot of like awkward comments from people relative to people that are trying to combat narco terrorism on a global scale, or whether it has to do with counter border operations into America, and they're like, "Oh, well, where's the source of the demand?" Fair enough. What does that have to do with the human trafficking part of it? They're making a lot of money off of human trafficking, and for people who don't know because they've never been on either side of that, what harm is done to the people and how they're treated. Um, so it's not just about the drug trade. There's more that's being done than just that. So I guess that kind of at least sets aside part of the narrative. The Whether or not demand is a contributor, that's not a yeah that's an argument that's reasonable, and it makes sense. But unfortunately, it's a global issue relative to narco trafficking. And so, if we're just talking about America, um, the argument doesn't stand on its face, because if somebody's saying that the demand is here and that means that nobody should combat it, or that, oh, the reason why it exists is because demand, so there's no reason to put up a fight or to fight for the lives of people that are impacted by addiction. And for people who are, how do you say, they're either on the right or the left or the middle, whatever. A lot of times it has to do with just talking points. People want to sound cool, or they want to make an argument that outperforms the next person. But if you're talking about addiction and people's children passing away, I know people personally that we've lost to this fight. Um, so it resonates with me, and so I'll never make the argument that, yeah, no, nobody should fight trafficking into America because the source of the money is here, and it harms the people in Mexico. At the Global Narco Summit, it was people from Mexico that were here. A lot of them, people who risked their lives to combat the narco trafficking there, and the political, how you say, the political interweaving of it. One wouldn't exist without the other. Essentially, is what they said, and that there's an influence, of the narco trafficking into the political structure that helps keep it viable. And so the people that showed up to the narco trafficking summit, they were people from Mexico. Everybody has lost somebody in this fight. The very first keynote speaker that spoke that day lost, I think he said, 5 people from his family. And at one point, they had handed out white pieces of paper, and everybody that had a piece of paper, they would have them stand up, and they've lost people in their lives. So these people are very brave. It was an honor to meet everybody there, and just to walk into a room full of people that were on the same page from multiple different countries, and people that had been fighting this battle on the front lines from where it's really dangerous. Some people are very comfortable with boohooing and complaining from safety. If I'm over here complaining about an issue from somewhere that's safe and there's no danger, that's real easy. That's too easy. Matter of fact, I even saw a protest where this guy was telling the officers to pop him in the face with, your bravery. Go do that in the bridge. place where they'll accommodate that. You know what I mean? Where I don't see people collect the south side of Chicago or in some of the really rough boroughs where there's harm being done. You know, like there was a massacre in California in Stockton. There was one in Goshen, California. Where were they then to go and address it and confront it? They know better because they go down there and taunt them and say, put one in my face. Those people down there will accommodate that. So seeing this dude like taunting them, it was pathetic, man. So going to the CPAC, some people who taking a stand against from within Mexico was like, so I knew I walked in and everything I've been doing here relative to 18 USC 2339 Bravo and California Evidence Code 1041 through 1043, subsection Delta, and the request to notice for the request is to expand the executive the the, the group, man, a game changer, right? And but lately, the president of Salvador was done, but it was his deed. He showed up, she changed things in El Salvador was when her uncle he changed the identifiers of the group so that they could deal with them as they are because they were terrorizing people that live there. And so that here in America was that Delta. It's not just organized crime, just traditional. But you look at the operation that took place in a led by the DEA. Shoot, hold on.